The road doesn't give you everything at once. It leans into curves, disappears into mist, reappears as possibility. To ride it is to surrender the need to know everything now. You trust the curve, you lean into it, you move. So too with knowledge, so too with truth. What if truth, real truth, isn't there all at once? What if it unfolds only as you ride? We build systems to contain the world, maps of thought, languages of proof. But can a map ever show all of itself? Can a system explain everything, including itself? This is more than a question. It's a threshold. We begin not at certainty, but at the edge of knowing. In the early 20th century, mathematics stood at a crossroads. David Hilbert, born in 1862 in Königsberg, Prussia, now Kaliningrad, Russia, was one of the giants of modern mathematics. He revolutionized geometry, laid the foundation for formal logic, and gave the mathematical world a clear mission: to formalize all of mathematics into a complete, consistent, and finite set of axioms. This became known as Hilbert's program. His vision was not just technical, it was philosophical. Hilbert believed that mathematics could be a pristine tower built on reason alone. He famously declared, "We must know and we will know." Enter Kurt Gödel. Born in 1906 in Brunn, now Brno, Czech Republic, Gödel was nicknamed Herr Warum, Mr. Why, for his incessant questioning. As a young man, he studied in Vienna and became associated with the Vienna Circle, a group of scientists and philosophers promoting logical positivism, the idea that meaning arises only from what can be observed or logically proven. But Gödel never truly fit in. He was quiet, reclusive, and metaphysically inclined. Where the circle saw logic as an end, Gödel saw it as a window, something that hinted at more than it could contain. At just 25, he proved a result that shook the foundation of Hilbert's dream. Gödel's first incompleteness theorem states, in any consistent formal system capable of arithmetic, there are statements that are true, but cannot be proven within that system. True, but cannot be proven within that system. How did he do it? Through something called Gödel numbering, a way of turning every symbol, formula, and even entire proofs into numbers. With this, Gödel created a statement that essentially said, this statement is not provable within this system. If the system could prove it, it would be inconsistent. If it couldn't, the statement would be true, but unprovable. Either way, the system fails to be both complete and consistent. It wasn't a flaw in the system. It was a feature of logic itself. Hilbert's dream had reached its limit, not by contradiction, but by paradox. Later, Gödel joined the Institute for Advanced Study at Princeton, New Jersey, where he could walk daily with Albert Einstein. Towards the end of his life, Einstein said he went to the Institute only to have the privilege of walking home with Gödel. Together, they wandered the boundaries of time and truth. Gödel didn't destroy certainty, he revealed its edge and hinted at what lies beyond. Now, let's go back several thousand years. Long before logic wore suits and spoken proofs, seekers in the Indus River Valley in the Indian subcontinent sat, meditated, and asked, "Who am I?" not as a thought experiment, but as an opening into being. This was the essence of Advaita Vedanta, a school of Indian philosophy rooted in the Upanishads, sacred texts of Hinduism written between 800 and 200 BCE. The Upanishads whisper things that logic cannot compute, that which the eye cannot see, but by which the eye sees. Know that alone as Brahman. This Brahman was not a god among gods. It was being itself, limitless, formless, ever-present. And Atman, the individual self, was not different from Brahman. The Chandogya Upanishad said it clearly, Tat Tvam Asi. You are that. In the 8th century CE, the great sage Adi Shankara unified these teachings. He traveled across India, debating scholars, writing commentaries, and establishing monasteries. But his core message was simple. The truth of who you are is not something to become. It's what you already are. Only illusion, Maya, veils it. To reveal it, Shankara used the method of negation. Neti, neti. Not this, not that. Not the body, not the mind, not thought, not even the I that says I am. Eventually, the seeker encounters something they cannot step outside of, awareness itself. But here's the paradox. You can never fully observe the self because you are it. It's like trying to taste your own tongue or see your own seeing. Shankara said, that which illumines all things cannot itself be illumined. And here's where the paths of Gödel and Advaita Vedanta begin to rhyme. Gödel showed that no formal system can explain all of itself. Advaita Vedanta shows that the self cannot fully grasp itself as an object. And yet, truth remains. The unprovable statement is still true. The self, though ungraspable, is still shining through every moment. The mind reaches a boundary, but beyond that boundary, there's not chaos. There's clarity, stillness. In the 20th century, sages like Ramana Maharshi restated these truths without a trace of mystification. Sitting at the base of Arunachala Hill in Tirunamalai, Tamil Nadu, India, he taught in silence, occasionally guiding seekers to ask themselves a single, powerful inquiry. Who am I? He didn't mean the name, the story, nor beliefs. He meant awareness behind it all. And when every answer burns away in that inquiry, what remains is not nothing. It is presence. Silent, aware, undivided. Like Gödel's truth, it cannot be proven from outside, but it is undeniable from within. Here's where it gets interesting. Because both Kurt Gödel and Advaita Vedanta don't discard logic, they refine it. Gödel never rejected mathematics. In fact, he revered it. But he reminded us, it can't do everything. In the same way, Advaita Vedanta doesn't throw away thought. It uses thought to reach the place where thought is no longer useful. It uses thought to reach the place where thought is no longer useful. When asked whether he believed in God, Gödel replied, I do not think that the question of existence can be settled logically. He explored formal logic, but he lived with mystery. He even tried to construct a logical proof of God's existence based on modal logic and the ontological arguments of Leibniz. But his real depth lay in what he left unsaid. He believed deeply in an eternal realm of truths, what Plato called the world of forms. He saw the mind as more than mechanism. He believed consciousness was not emergent, but fundamental. And this view harmonizes, gently, not perfectly, with Advaita Vedanta, because in both, the deepest truths are not invented. They are discovered, not constructed from parts, but revealed through clarity. The sages say, the self is always here. You just fail to notice it because of distraction. Gödel says, the truths are there, but not all of them fit inside your system. Same gesture, same humility. Even Einstein, himself no mystic, was deeply drawn to Gödel. They would walk for hours in Princeton. Einstein later said that those walks with Gödel brought him more peace than his own equations. So we see, even among the scientists, the most rigorous minds sometimes found themselves drawn toward what cannot be proved. Not because they wanted to believe, but because something in them had already seen it. The map cannot contain the terrain. The eye cannot see itself. The system cannot explain itself, and yet truth remains. This is not a contradiction. It's a pointing, not confusion, but reverence. In both Gödel's proofs and the teachings of Advaita Vedanta, the edge of the system is not the end. It's the doorway. The road through Ha Giang Mountains doesn't care for straight lines. It bends, vanishes into mist, reappears in light. To ride it is to live in trust, not knowing, but moving. Gödel took us to the edge of logic, Advaita Vedanta to the edge of identity. Each reveals a truth not provable, but present. There is a kind of knowledge that does not conclude, but abides, a silence that is not absence, but fullness. The Kena Upanishad says, he who thinks he knows it well, knows it not. He who thinks he does not know it, knows it. And so we ride, not away from reason, but into the curve and beyond it.